Hi guys, so in today's video we are going to be making some delicious individual Pavlovas and we are going to be filling those with a gorgeous whipped cream and some lightly poached rhubarb. So what we're going to need for this recipe is 2 egg whites, we have some caster sugar, a dash of vanilla essence and some rhubarb. Now again, you can use whatever fruit that you have in the house, but for the meringues themselves, these are the 3 ingredients that we need: egg whites, sugar and vanilla. So let's get started. So first things first, I have chopped and washed my rhubarb. There's about maybe, I'd say 6 stalks in here, small stalks. So I'm going to cook this down. So I'm just going to add in a good dash of orange juice. And again, rhubarb can be quite tart, so I'm just going to put in a tablespoon of sugar just to sweeten that up a tad. And I'm going to cook this down slowly over a medium heat until the rhubarb is nice and soft. You don't want it to turn into pulp because you want the rhubarb to sit on top of our meringues when they are baked. So again, just cook them nice and slow until they soften up. So there are a couple of things to keep in mind to creating the perfect meringue. Number one is a really clean bowl. So again, I have just washed this out and dried it thoroughly. Secondly is your egg whites. So again, using fresh eggs, I have just taken the egg whites and separated the yolks. Egg whites need to be fresh and ideally at room temperature. I find that you get better volume if your egg whites are at room temperature. So again, clean bowl, clean whisk, and egg whites at room temperature. So they go into the bowl and I'm going to start to whisk this slowly until it reaches kind of like a soft peak frothy stage, and then I will gradually start adding in my sugar. So as you can see here now, I have my whisk attachment on full speed and my 2 egg whites have frothed up beautifully. So now I'm just going to start gradually adding in my sugar until this is all fully incorporated and we are left with a lovely, shiny, firm meringue mix. So now as you can see here, my meringue is nice and thick and I'm just going to add in a tiny little drop of vanilla. This is optional. Obviously, keep this in mind, the more you add, the darker your meringues are going to be. So I'm just going to whisk that through, and then this is going to make 4 meringues and I'm going to pop them onto, I have a lined baking tray ready here. So I'm just going to mix that for another minute and I'm going to spoon that onto my tray and get them into the oven. So this has been mixing now for about 4 to 5 minutes. And as you can see, really thick, shiny meringue, and that is exactly what we're looking for. You want it to be able to stick to the whisk like that. So I'm just going to take this off the whisk now and put this on my prepared tray. So just to prepare my tray, I always like to take some meringue on the back of the spoon and just hit the 4 corners of the tray and the center, and this will help my parchment paper stick, I'll show you now, down, so when it's baking that the paper doesn't fly off the tray. So again, just a tiny little bit of meringue in the 4 corners and a little bit in the center, and that's the tray ready to go. So this recipe does, it makes 4 mini Pavlovas. So you're basically just going to take a spoon of your Pavlova mix. Now this is not a job for one hand. See if I can manage this. I'll turn my phone around and we're just going to spoon that onto our tray. It doesn't have to be the perfect round shape. You can kind of touch it up afterwards. Always make a little indent in the center because that's what's going to hold our delicious filling. And again, the more rustic and homemade they look, in my opinion, the better. So that's the first meringue, and I'm going to put the other 3 on the tray now. So that is the 4 meringues. As you can see, the little mini Pavlovas here, and I've made a little indent into the center of each one to hold our delicious rhubarb. So they go into a preheated oven set at 130, 110 fan, and they are going to take about an hour to bake. So I'm just going to slide this in here and close up the door, and I'll be back in about an hour. So my meringues have been baking now for 1 hour. I'm just going to pull them out a little bit so you can see. They've taken on a lovely light colour, but not too dark. So if you like a kind of soft, chewy meringue, take them out at this point here. Or what you can do if you prefer a more dry, crumblier meringue, just leave your oven a little bit ajar like this and turn the oven off and let them cool completely in the oven. Now, to finish off our individual pavlovas, we are just going to take a spoonful of semi-whipped cream, and that is just going to be popped into the centre. Now, you can use Greek yogurt either. It is a healthier alternative, but if you are going for a little treat, don't deprive yourself. A little bit of cream here, as I said, in all of these. That I'll push to one side. Next, we have our delicious rhubarb that we cooked down earlier on. You're just going to take a spoon of that gorgeous compote and put it sitting on top. Again, use what you have at home. If it's mixed berries that you have, you can even put delicious orange segments, or again, just whatever you have at home. Tailor that to your dessert. So again, a spoon of rhubarb. And again, I have cooked this until the rhubarb is nice and soft, but it's still held its shape. So you get a nice little bit of texture in there as well. Just put another little spoon here. And then we're just going to finish off with a few beautiful edible flowers. These are wild dog roses. They add such a beautiful colour. And we have a little borage leaf to go on top there. And that's it, folks. That's the delicious individual meringue pavlovas with semi-whipped cream, stewed rhubarb and some edible flowers.